What's going on, friends, family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to be talking about free games, free-to-play online games that happen to be like World of Warcraft. So all of these are MMOs, obviously. They are going to be MMORPGs that they're very similar to WoW, but in specific reasons. Like, WoW is actually a really big game with many facets that can make it play very differently. You know, from battlegrounds, open-world PvP, the dungeon systems, its general feel and vibe can actually even change between classes. But I think overall, you know, these games are obviously inspired from one reason or another. They've all released after World of Warcraft, and it's pretty clear where they're kind of coming from, even if you could say, oh, it's really more inspired by EverQuest, and I don't care, guys. Basically, they're kind of like WoW. If you like free-to-play games or games that, you know, you can at least start to play for free, I got some, and they happen to be like WoW. That's what this video is. That's pretty much it. We know what WoW is. I don't need to explain anymore. Intro out. Okay, here we go. I got 5 games, so let's keep that hype alive. Alright, so the first free game like World of Warcraft is going to be Archeage, and immediately, yeah, I get it. Okay, I get it. Look, frankly, there's not that many games. Honestly, I stopped at 5 because I didn't care to look through more. Archeage is pay to win. Archeage has many system faults and imbalances, that's true, but honestly, like, oh man, I hate admitting this, but you can kind of ignore it to a point, and since I'm somebody who does often do first impressions and jumps around from game to game, guys, you can kind of have fun in Archeage, like leveling and questing and just learning the systems. There actually was a lot of magic to Archeage that really kind of almost felt like back in the day, if you were a world PvPer like I was in WoW, it kind of felt like that, but just like actually better. Like Archeage could have been a freaking huge game, and I think we can all admit that. It wasn't exactly a WoW killer, but it could have been one of the big 3, like for reals. So Archeage basically is a faction versus factions, kind of sandbox MMO. It starts out theme parkish for the leveling, and then really blossoms out. Like you get your housing that actually exists in the open world, there's like pirating and shit like that, and you have a cool, really fun class combination kind of system. So even though it's tab targeting and it has like a rotational based gameplay, very similar to World of Warcraft, as well as a premise that is very Horde versus Alliance, it really hones in on that. And again, while it has performance issues, balancing issues, pay to win issues, all this stuff, frankly, just objectively, if I was going to make a list like this, it has to go on the list. Now, there is a pay to play version, but that also has its problems. But yeah, so Archeage is an option. Some people do play it. Some people have had fun with it. And eventually, you will get bored of it. Eventually, you will see the problems and you'll hit a wall. But that doesn't mean you can't have some fun. You can't find some fun in it. And you know what? So yeah, I'm going to shout it out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Archeage. It's like open world WoW PvP. That's pretty much it. And next up, I'm gonna slap down TERA. And by the way, like this list video, since they're all based on different parts of World of Warcraft, it's not exactly ordered like the best ever. So yeah, TERA is actually, I think, a really good WoW-like. There's some big differences though. So I think some people slap themselves in the face for a couple reasons here. TERA is a free-to-play game that used to be a subscription-based game, and it had a formula very similar to classic WoW, where I think they were gonna go like expansions and stuff like that. You had to buy the box, pay a sub fee. That didn't really work out. But it went free to play, and then it kind of added in more and more convoluted systems as time went on. And yeah, it's debatably pay to win now. But if you get to end game, you can taste it a little bit. It is actually pretty similar to World of Warcraft. It does have a Holy Trinity system, which is something that people really look for inside of a WoW-like game and MMOs in general. And it is free. And there's lots of different classes. There's interesting races to mix and match with. Some classes are race locked to the lollies, but I don't mind that. Anyways, TERA's gorgeous, but I gotta admit, the leveling is garbage. I kind of wish that they had like a classic TERA version. Like, okay, yeah, I don't know, just play classic TERA. A lot of people love the PvP in TERA, but no. Modern TERA is you jump in, you get to end game, and it's really freaking hardcore. It is actually more hyperactive and more bullet helly and way more intense than World of Warcraft because it's actually an action-based game. It's not tab targeting. I personally had a max level Lancer, so that's where I'm coming from. It kind of felt Dark Soulsian, but at the same time, a lot of the game, it can be kind of piss easy until you get to the end game where it'll beat the crap out of you, which is a really good incentive for you to spend some money on the cash shop, you know, for convenience things and all that good whatever bullcrap. So yeah, that's TERA. TERA is action combat version of WoW, basically. Holy Trinity, but with aimed skills. and it does focus on fighting big-ass monsters in dungeons with ridiculous amounts of skill shots and explosions, and don't stand on the red circles. And if you like that kind of gameplay, if you like the mythic dungeon experience and raiding inside of World of Warcraft, you're gonna kind of get that vibe inside of TERA. Though, it seems like the game, it just switched publishers, and I don't really know where the game sits in terms of fairness right now. But overall, it is an Unreal Engine 3 game. It does have performance issues as well. And again, the leveling really sucks, so it's kind of hard to get into. But if you do get into it, and you play it for a weekend or a week, and you get to the end game, especially with a group of friends, you can actually have a ton of fucking fun. And halfway on the list, Lord of the Rings Online. This is a game that I barely played. I barely know anything about, even like its free-to-play restrictions. A lot of people have different vibes and feels for it, but I'm just gonna say you can play it for at least a little bit for free. And I think that's the point here, because the reason why it's similar to World of Warcraft is because it's it reminds me of classic WoW, basically. And in fact, when this game came out, a couple of years after World of Warcraft came out, WoW was still in that kind of classic WoW phase, and this game very much, like a bunch of my friends and people who played WoW, kind of migrated to Lord of the Rings Online because it had that vibe of the leveling, immersing yourself in a story, especially if you're fans of the mythos of Lord of the Rings, you're gonna have fun in this game. However, as somebody who doesn't care about the mythos, the lore of Lord of the Rings Online, I personally don't care about this game, and I don't care to dive deeper. I heard that the end game is actually really fun, sure, but there's like really weird hiccups and pacing issues that come up later, and then all that good stuff. But I think just as a game to tease and to try out, and again, you might want to be a fan of Lord of the Rings or more receptive to absorbing yourself in the community of an MMO, then I think if you like classic WoW, and you, of course, this game's very inspired by EverQuest as well, if you liked kind of more OG MMOs, then Lord of the Rings Online is a little bit of a prettier version of those. But I don't appreciate the messy textures. I don't appreciate the messy monetization system that they have going on. That's very confusing. That's very limiting as well. But you can try it out. You can level in it. You can absorb yourself in the community for at least a little bit. And again, jump in with some friends, and I think you can have a really awesome time in this game. There is, roles to play, and I think there is a fun fantasy to live in Lord of the Rings Online. But overall, definitely I wish that we had more WoW clones, which I think is funny. We used to have stuff like Outlaws, and there's a bunch of games that I could mention that straight up were WoW clones, but they died. They weren't as good, or they didn't do well enough. But Lord of the Rings Online is one of those clones that came out and actually did really well. It might seem niche, but maybe the Lord of the Rings name might also carry it a little bit more than it should. I don't know. That's debatable. It's up to you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but I have to mention it here. In a video of games like WoW, very obviously Lord of the Rings Online is going to be in it. And next we have, funny enough, Star Wars: The Old Republic. So this game, when it was coming out, I legit thought, I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit WoW. I'm gonna quit every other MMO. I'm gonna play Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm not somebody who is a fan of Star Wars, though Mandalorian, hype, but no, Star Wars, okay. It's just a little cheesy for me. I know, coming from World of Warcraft, which is like all cheese, but Star Wars is just like sci-fi MMOs, and I think I'm somebody who is probably would be more in love with a sandbox sci-fi game like EVE Online, or Star Wars Galaxies, absolutely. But Star Wars: The Old Republic obviously was cloning WoW, and I thought, oh, it's gonna be competitive, it's gonna be, it's gonna have arenas, hardcore arenas, it's gonna have hardcore endgame, stuff like that. In the end, totally flopped in that regard. Star Wars: The Old Republic, while it looks like WoW in a lot of ways in terms of a graphical presentation, in terms of its UI, in terms of how its skills are used as well, in many ways, it is kind of a WoW clone. It actually doesn't feel like WoW in terms of its living, breathing world. I'm actually putting it on this list because it's basically sci-fi World of Warcraft, but single player. And I know there are like group events, there is PvP, there is stuff like that, but it doesn't quite have the punch of World of Warcraft. And in fact, I think its arenas and things like that are just, it's really casual. It's not known for its end game. It doesn't have like an esport of any kind whatsoever. There isn't any sportiness to it, and at the same time, it's generally like its social content. It's not known for its giant, massive open world epicosity like in Guild Wars 2. Star Wars: The Old Republic is just sort of like a quieter World of Warcraft that happens to be sci-fi, but there is some saving graces to it that actually make it a little bit different. So if you play World of Warcraft like a single player game, that's more current World of Warcraft, where they actually literally do have single player questing. They do actually have cinematic questing. There is kind of a precedent to be like that. Even, I know it's funny, but a lot of the games on this list that were inspired by WoW has then actually been inspired by them. And so Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic has definitely actually inspired World of Warcraft. So, anyways, but now that WoW is kind of like that, if you haven't played these games, well, you can play Star Wars The Old Republic and have a single player or like a more kept experience where it's more low-key. Maybe you're diving a little bit into some social content, a little bit, maybe you're partnering up with a player here or there or playing cooperatively, but mostly you can just jump in and have the feel of WoW, but play it in the Star Wars universe and have a single player lore, intensive experience. The problem though is that as a free-to-play, because this is a free-to-play list, there's severe limitations as well, though I think you can run through the entire campaign. You won't have access to every race, every class. So watch out for that. I'm not really sure about the full detail of the exact limiters. I just know it's kind of severe. Hopefully they kind of unrestrict that, but the game overall is pretty cheap. And you can one and done it, play it like a story and have fun, which is actually something that I suggest if you play just the trial in World of Warcraft. There's a really fun level 1 through 20 story to play, just one and done it. You can do some dungeons, do some PvP, and you can have some fun. So yeah, in many ways, WoW, even though WoW is inspired by some of these games, they're now similar. I think it makes the list. Star Wars The Old Republic is totally like a sci-fi WoW clone that happens to also have something unique and special with it being single player. And finally, we actually have a game that is just so slap in the face, a WoW clone. It's crazy, and yet it is so artistically flavored that you might not even be able to tell that it's a WoW clone. Hordes.io. Okay, Hordes.io is basically you take World of Warcraft, but you crunch it down into the most low fidelity, lo-fi game to relax to that you possibly could. Crunch it down and make it as minimal as possible. This is minimalism WoW. WoW is minimal as it gets. Blocks, shapes, that's it, colors, and it's two factions. Two factions that they spawn in different areas of the world, obviously. And then there's some quests to kind of do, but mostly it's like grinding. You're just open world grinding, and it reminds a lot of like vanilla World of Warcraft, right? So you're just kind of grinding around, and then there's like open world PvP. So it's PvEvP. There's different classes, not that many. Like you have like one healer, kind of one tankish class. You have a ranged DPS. You got your mage class. That's pretty much it. It's as distilled as possible of an experience of kind of like old school PvEvP World of Warcraft. People are running around, like assaulting crossroads or going into like dead mines and slapping alliance around. Yeah. It's kind of like that. No, it doesn't have raids. No, it doesn't have a single player campaign. No, it doesn't have, this or that. But for what it was trying to do, two factions, open world PvEvP, and classes and abilities that are reminiscent of World of Warcraft, even though it might not look like World of Warcraft, actually, it is. It is. And what it does well, just distilling those concepts and distilling those specific concepts of World of Warcraft, it actually does it better than any game, I think. Now, while Archeage might be like debatably the big brother version of this game, I actually prefer Hordes.io, and I think a lot of people do. It's just simple, it's clean, it's quick, and you jump in, and it's not uproariously pay to win or convoluted with its microtransactions or anything like that. It's simple, it's clean. Yeah, I kind of want that OG open world PvP WoW experience. Let me jump into it. That's what Hordes.io is. And it's an IO game. It's free. You can play it in the browser, and that's freaking sick. I'm actually so surprised we haven't had more WoW clones be playable in the browser or mobile versions. There's like just a couple that I could really talk about, and even then, I don't want to talk about them. So these are my 5 WoW clones that I want to talk about. But if there are some mobile games that you think actually should be championed, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, for the most part, Hordes.io is going to be my lo-fi version of WoW that I think you guys should give a shot. Like, for real, it's not just for kids. It's genuine fun. Alright guys, but that's going to be it. That is my absolute ranty reviews of these games. Obviously not even full reviews of the full experience, but for what makes them kind of similar like WoW, and debatably kind of what makes them special is, I think we talked about it. I think we covered the bases, but let me know if I'm wrong, right, whatever. Just throw it down in the comments below, you keyboard warriors. But also, if there's anything I missed, like some mobile games, yeah, absolutely shout that out. But these are my free games like WoW. That's pretty much it. I got 5 of them because I guess I don't care about the rest, and frankly, it's kind of hard hard to even recommend fully all of these games on this list, but if I did have to pick one that I do just totally, very safely, fully recommend, it's like WoW and free, that's Hordes.io. Sure. What do you guys think? That's it. Much love. Try to keep the hype alive, guys. And if you want more videos like this, definitely recommend it down below, and I'll see you again next time.